Are you the type of person to lose your cool? Well, this week on Motivation and Confidence, we're going to give you 3 ways not to lose your cool. Stay tuned. This week's episode is 3 ways not to lose your cool. I'm going to tell you 3 ways not to lose your cool, because if losing your cool were a picture, I'd be that guy, because I've lost my cool way too many times and put myself in a jacked up situation. So before we go any further, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you always for tuning in. If you don't want to leave a comment below, please subscribe to the channel, whether it be YouTube or subscribing to the podcast, any platform that you're on. Please leave a review if you enjoy the content. If you don't enjoy the content, give us some constructive criticism. Always looking to grow, always looking to elevate, and I definitely appreciate you guys. And if you have a subject or a product or service that you would like to feature on the podcast, please send an email to, as always, tommydanger@gmail.com. TOMMYDANGER@gmail.com. Okay, right down to business. So I remember years ago, my mom was dating a guy, and they had a rocky relationship. It was one of those things where they were like super duper lovers, and then for whatever reason, he decided to go with another woman. And I never forget, one day, the woman had actually had the nerve to come to our house. And she rang the bell and she asked for my mother by name. And I went and told my mom, I said, this lady is asking for you. She's talking about her boyfriend, or she knows his whereabouts. So I'm probably in my early 20s. I have a very, very, very bad temper, right? Just loose, wild cannon. And my mom goes outside to speak to the lady, and she comes back in the house and she says to me, Tom, come with me around the corner. I said, all right, I roll with you. So I go with her around the corner. She said she's going to, this lady says, I know where your boyfriend is. This is just wild even thinking about it. So once she gets around the corner, he comes outside and he has a cane, like he's limping or something. And I guess, for whatever reason, the woman called herself dropping dime, like, I know you got a lady around the corner, now you're trying to be here with me, you can't be with both of us type of situation. So they're standing outside talking, and my mom slaps the dude, right? Now, I'm about 12 feet away watching in the cut. And after she slaps him, before I even give him the chance to react, I run up on him and I two-piece him, right? I fracture his jaw. Now, I'm not saying this to sound like a tough guy. I'm not saying this to sound like a bully. I did it not thinking, losing my cool, called myself coming to the defense of my mom because I didn't want her to get hit, so I figured that I better jump on this guy real quick. But as I think back about it, I should have only interjected if there was a situation where it clearly appeared that he was going to get physical with her. Old folks say, you don't get in grown folks' business, right? That's their relationship thing. Like, I didn't really have any business running up on this grown man. He was much older than me, probably in his 40s, and putting hands on him. Now, I know that this guy was a military guy. So at any time in the street, he could have did whatever. He could have just ran up on me. But he didn't. But I know that in that moment, I should have stopped for a moment and really think about it, right? So we're talking about 3 ways not to lose your cool. And the first thing to do when you are in a heated situation, or a situation where you feel yourself about to lose your cool, is stop and think about it. Stop and think about it. Now, every situation doesn't warrant you the ability to take a long time to make a decision, right? There's certain situations where you have to make a split decision, but you always have the ability to make a decision, right? And two of those decisions that I think we all have is fight or flight, right? So either you're going to stand there and fight it out, or you're going to run, or in other words, remove yourself from the situation. Too many times as black men, like, we find ourselves in situations where we automatically feel like we just got to go into beast mode. We just have to put hands on. We got to get aggressive. But there's an alternative. It doesn't make you less of a man to walk away from a situation that could jeopardize your life or your freedom. It's different when you have a situation where your family, loved ones, friends, or whatever are clearly in danger and you have to act. And you're making that decision to act based upon your assessment. You're looking at what's going on and you see, like, this looks like this is about to go down. It doesn't look as if it's going to turn out too well, so I need to do something. But understand, the first step is to always stop and think about it, okay? As I reflect back on that situation with my mom and her boyfriend, the second thing that I should have done was, instead of me putting hands on him, like, you can use your voice to release your anger. As simple as, giving yourself the opportunity to be loud, scream, right? Like, what's your problem? What is your problem? Like, really escalate your voice. What's your problem? I'm sorry for all the people who are listening right now, had headphones in. Like, I took it there, right? But even in raising your voice, you are releasing some of that tension that's building up, right? You find yourself almost hyperventilating and slightly getting anxiety, right? And the anxiety is coming from not knowing what's about to go down. So you have to find a way to transfer that energy. And let's say that you've left that situation. You thought about it and now you've left that situation, but you're still walking around tense, right? Find a way to release that energy. Myself, I love to run. So when I find myself like reaching that point to where I may become stressful or I feel like just tense or angry, I exercise. I go for a run. I'll lift weights. Be careful lifting weights. Actually, be careful doing any exercise when you're upset, because if you don't pay attention to what you're doing, you could actually hurt yourself even more. I've done that before too, to where, I went running and ran as hard as I could and as fast as I could and wound up fracturing my leg. And yes, I was literally running that hard that I fractured my leg on a treadmill. But feel free to give yourself like 2 minutes outside of the space. Give yourself 2 minutes to where if you want to shout, like 4-letter words, and if you want to, I have a clip online where one time when my son and I took like a sledgehammer or an axe to center blocks, chop wood, chop trees, swing baseball bats. Like, put yourself in an area where you can just release that energy. Find ways for you to release that energy so that you're not walking around with all this anger. And in another way, like if you're a non-physical person, find that person that's going to listen to you who is non-judgmental, where you can just literally vent. Because sometimes just talking about it will help you release some of that anxiety and anger. You just talk yourself through it, okay? That's the second thing. Talking about 3 ways not to lose your cool. And the third way, if you're still in that situation, right, and you stopped and you thought about it, you've shouted 4-letter words and you're sort of getting it off your chest, and you still feel yourself there, breathe. You remember like when we was little and we get a whipping, right? And then after you finish getting your spanking and it's over with, and you have like that, how can I describe, like you have that breathe, like you breathe in, and when you breathe out, it's like a slight tremor at the end, like you, and it's like once you let that tremor go, like you know in that moment, like the worst part is over with. Like once you feel that little tremor, it's like that's the last little bit release of tension that comes out of your body. You can just breathe, man. Huge believer in meditation daily. You can use your breathing techniques to keep you grounded on a daily basis so that you can deal with the tough things that come to you. Side note that I like to do to also help you deal with extreme situations is take a cold shower. Take a cold shower, 2 to 3 minutes. It will send your body into shock, and I guarantee you that anger that you're feeling at the moment, you're not going to be able to think about that anger when that cold water hits the top of your head in the middle of your chest. You're going to be thinking about, how am I going to survive this cold water, right? And that's just something totally on the side. These are things that we could all use. If I'm leaving out something, if there are particular things that you do when you're angry, please leave it in the comments. You don't want to leave it in the comments. Feel free to shoot me an email. But yes, again, 3 ways not to lose your cool. Stop and think about it. 2, find ways to release that anxiety or anger. And 3, breathe. This is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. And you got to remember in your mind, there's nothing that's stopping you from being great. The only thing that you have to do is just decide to do so. You take the stand today and just say, I'm going to be great. When you wake up in the morning, today is going to be a great day. I feel great. Let the words manifest itself. Don't think that it's all hype. Don't think that I'm charged up over something make-believe. I am living proof. You were born to be great. Turn off the noise, everything else that's outside, and step into your greatness.